Watch this.
Well, a happy Monday to you. Here's what's ahead on this edition of the 208. Did lawmakers fix the 2024 election glitch over the weekend? They had until October 1st to do it. Well, now it's October 2nd. So we're diving into the caucus conundrum with Idaho Governor Brad Little, our interview one-on-one. They say summer is construction season. Well, guess what? Fall is too. And construction in downtown Boise appears to be on the agenda for the foreseeable future. A project that should have been done already? It's not. And business owners tell us they're boxed in and suffering.
Folks, this is a potential crisis, but a manageable one.
Funny name, serious problem. The state of Idaho is on the offensive against the Quagga Mussel, a small critter Idahoans are now learning a large amount about. But there is a plan to take it on. We're going to check in on the mission ahead on the 208. It starts right now. Happy Monday. Thanks for being here with us. Hope that you had a nice weekend. Something that I was tracking over the weekend, the October 1st deadline from the Republican National Committee. The RNC has rules for their state parties, like in Idaho, in terms of running things like the presidential preference primary. As the RNC rules go, on or before October 1st of the year, before the year in which the National Convention is to be held, which is this year, well, each state committee, they need to adopt their rules right before October 1st. So this is important because Idaho's GOP is moving to a caucus format for next year's presidential preference primary. And the October 1st deadline was the last technical opportunity for the state of Idaho to fix that. And you might have heard, a new Idaho law inadvertently eliminated the presidential primary because of some technical errors. An effort to fix that late in the legislative session, it failed. So the current situation allows for political parties to create their own system to nominate a presidential candidate. The Idaho GOP announced following their convention back in June that they're going to move to a firehouse caucus, which creates GOP caucuses all around the state on March 2nd, 2024. The reason being, GOP Chair Dorothy Moon wants Idaho to be early in the national GOP cycle to nominate a candidate for president. She says she doesn't want to have to wait till May to have a primary election. So lawmakers could still act on all of this, but they haven't. And there's been a question for a few days out there. Could Governor Brad Little act on this? Well, I asked the governor in our candid conversation this afternoon. Last week, there was a group of lawmakers or a handful of lawmakers that wanted to possibly be in this building to talk about the presidential primary, the preference situation. How many phone calls and how many messages did you get from lawmakers?
Well, I see them as I travel around the state and I visit with them. That wasn't an accident. There were two bills. The first one passed, the second one was supposed to pass, and it never got up here. It never got through the process. So we know we have a void in what's available to both Republicans and Democrats to be part of the selection process for the president. They can all agree and call themselves in. If they all collectively agree, and I think it's a good idea, I can call them in, or in January we can do it. Now, the problem is we might get penalized delegates at the national process by waiting till that, but that date's already passed. It was today, or yesterday, was the day that was supposed to take place. And in all reality, there weren't the people, and well, they didn't even have the petition filled out, other than a week ago. So I'm confident there'll be something in place. I just don't know what it's going to be. So.
Do you think that'll be January?
It could be, or there could be an agreement before that. So.
Because I've spoken with people in Idaho political circles, and they said, well, maybe the governor should just call them back if they can't call themselves back. But the conversation usually went the direction of, well, why would the governor call them back if they can't seem to agree on something? Is that where your mind was at last week?
That's exactly right. Okay. Myself and my predecessors in this job, a special session, as was originally put in the Constitution, was for some circumstance that happened or something happened the legislature didn't get done. But we've always said, here's the bill number. If I got a majority on one side of the rotunda and majority on the other, and will I sign it? Otherwise you come here and you struggle around and there's different bills and they go back and forth, and That's what the regular session's for. That's not what a special session's for.
Do you have thoughts on the caucus format?
Well, I prefer our Idaho citizens making that selection. It's really difficult in some of these big counties. You know, there's no absentee voting, so military people that are on a mission for their church. There's lots of people that just don't get to participate, and it's difficult. You know, depending upon what it is, what the weather's like that day, whether they can get to the polling place, and then those votes are counted by people that are not at all skilled in vote counting. We consolidated elections so that they're done by the professionals of the county. So the county clerk is all skilled up, knows how to count the votes, and we have seen, as we did in the last election, that we do audits afterwards, and our compliance rate is well over 99%. If we have a vote that's out, it's usually a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a percent, because they're good at that. County clerks are good at that, and they were duly elected by the people in their counties, so that's the way it should be done.
So it is possible that lawmakers make a fix either in the next few weeks or months or in January. And it is possible that Idaho could get a waiver from the RNC to change their format. So the whole thing is not set in stone, but if things don't change, we will be seeing caucuses around Idaho early next year. I will say this, on a related note, tomorrow, Governor Brad Little's signature program, Idaho Launch, it kicks off. And in an effort to help fill in-demand careers across the Gem State, Idaho Launch, the program, it's going to offer one-time opportunity for graduating seniors, students, to receive 80% off of their tuition and fees. And it's a grant program that the application portal will open tomorrow, October 3rd. And the scholarships and the grants, I should call them, they're a maximum of $8,000 per student. So tomorrow on the 208, we're going to go in depth with Governor Little on the program, what success looks like to him, and if he thinks that this is a project with immediate impact or something we need to follow for the next several years. I know there's going to be a lot of attention on Idaho Launch tomorrow, so we'll have that for you here on the 208, and we'll also touch on how you can apply and get the grant for the people in your life. So that'll be tomorrow on the 208. All right, navigating downtown Boise has been a week-by-week problem. Many of you know this. Multiple construction projects are pushing drivers toward detours and blocking off-street parking, making some areas totally inaccessible. It's inconvenient, but the biggest burden is falling on local business owners. The shops on 11th Street, for example, have dealt with recurring construction throughout the year. The 11th Street rebuild, as it's called, is to replace canal infrastructure and to repave road and bike lanes in downtown Boise. The Capital City Development Corps, well, they announced that they're beginning the fifth and final leg of this project. They're closing 11th Street between Jefferson and State for 3 weeks. But that doesn't mean the rest of 11th is finished. And with all those detour signs up, local businesses are thinking about alternative routes too. Here's our Andrew Bartline.
The byway to a successful business is paved with barriers.
I signed my lease in February of 20, and COVID hit in March.
It's a familiar story on Main Street.
Who doesn't need a puppy?
Driven by Shauna Loveland,
Little puffer vest.
owner of Baby Boutique, Baby Blues and Pink.
We just kept plugging forward. It was really tough. Took a breath, got out of COVID, and it popped off to this.
The barriers she's now fighting outside her business.
Had I known, I would have never, ever come down here.
It's a series of road construction projects, particularly tearing up 11th Street, right outside her business's front door.
It's behind schedule. I mean, this was supposed to be open numerous months ago on 11th, and it's still not. And they've had to re-tear up the road 2 more times.
The Capital City Development Corps has broken the 11th Street rebuild into multiple phases. The section spanning both sides of Main Street is anticipated to finish this month.
This has been pushed back, pushed back, pushed back.
Even through COVID, Baby Blues and Pink was growing year to year by 30%, but the construction brought that to a stall.
I had 2 people hired in 2020, and they just had to be let go. Sadly, one right at Christmas time, you know, and I felt horrible, but it's to the point where I have to save this business or I won't have anything. So I'm here. We've had to grind it out, and it's not just me, you guys, it's all of these businesses around here.
Shauna says her landlord even cut her a break on rent for a few months. And Foot Dynamics, a block away, says their profits are down 50% compared to last year. In 12 years, Foot Dynamics says this is their first year the business will not grow. And multiple other businesses attribute recent struggles to a lack of parking and customers not wanting to navigate downtown.
No one should have allowed all this building to go down at one time. No one.
Is it at least better now? I see Maine's open. Like, that's good.
Maine is open. That's encouraging. We have had more foot traffic, so we're hopeful. But it's, how long can we last and hang in there?
Several on the block have lost their employee parking in this alley too. They say that project is behind on the original schedule. And just days ago, one business signed a lease to move part of their company out of downtown.
Cute little boots.
But Shauna is now beginning to look toward her next step.
To be honest, yes. Yeah, I am.
Getting over the next barrier might be moving to a different part of town too, away from the city center.
And I don't want to, because I want to stay here. This is where I'm from.
Sidewalks through these projects are open. CCDC has made it a priority, at least to make it possible for foot traffic people to get in and out of these businesses that are even on those roads where there's a lot of construction, particularly 11th in this case. Right now, CCDC is projecting the entire 11th Street rebuild will be finished by the end of the month, according to their website. The only exception of that would be the single block between State and Jefferson that they started on today. Again, that's going to last through the end of the month, Joe. About 3 weeks is what they're estimating there. But the businesses on the corner of Main and 11th, they say that a lot of these construction projects were supposed to end in March. So now that they're hearing it's supposed to end in October, they're crossing their fingers and they're saying, please, we hope so.
How different was it today than when you went down there for the story that I think you did several months back? Did it feel as busy?
So the owner of Foot Dynamics on Main Street, he told us that he's thinking about leaving months ago.
Yeah.
Well, now it seems that there's a lease penned somewhere, that at least part of his business is moving out of the area. There was a bit of foot traffic, I'll say that. Main Street's open. That certainly helped, as Shauna said, for her business. But they are continuing to say these numbers are not the same as they were pre-construction. And 2 different businesses now have told me this construction has negatively impacted their business worse than COVID had.
Yeah, I remember the Foot Dynamics gentleman you interviewed a few months back. Okay, well, it'll be interesting to see where this story goes. I want to see if the business owners stay there or not, so we'll keep an eye on it. Andrew Bartline reporting for us. We'll be right back. We know there's a problem in Idaho's waterways, a critter that likes to create. And that creation, though, it's gumming up the waterway works around our state. Yes, Quagga Mussels. We have the urgent game plan that land managers are using next. Something else urgent that we should know about, or maybe something different, like really slow news. Well, whatever it is, we want to know about it. Send us a message, and some of these we'll read at the end of the show. Our number, 208-321-5614. Please be sure to include your name and hashtag the 208. You never know, your comment could be on screen in a matter of minutes.
We're fortunate that it's the low water time of year. If it was high water, we'd have a bigger challenge, and that's why it's so important that we get right on it.
Idaho's governor taking a close look at this sticky problem, the Quagga mussels. Yeah, they're sneaky little shells that can get everywhere, as we've learned, and they are starting to get around Idaho. 2 weeks ago, they were discovered in the Snake River. So why are we so worried about these feisty freshwater features? Well, because they take out the plankton in the water, which different species of fish they need. They also clog up irrigation pipes. And the director for the State Department of Agriculture says that Idaho's been working to keep these guys away for a while.
Idaho has spent the last 15 years trying to prevent the introduction of quagga mussels because we know how they would irreparably change the way that we interact with water. And that's in terms of hydropower generation, irrigation, recreation, all of the things that we love about Idaho's waterways would be truly threatened by the establishment of a quagga mussel population.
The Idaho State Department of Agriculture isn't wasting any time with this new threat, and they said that they're executing their most aggressive plan yet. Starting on Tuesday, tomorrow, they're using a copper-based formulation called Natrix to eliminate quagga mussels at all stages of life. Now, Natrix is approved by the EPA for these specific types of situations, and officials say that similar products are used in Idaho and several other states for mussel, fish, algae, and plant control, but don't worry, it isn't expected to impact any drinking water sources. So the plan, though, is to gradually introduce Natrix into the water between the Twin Falls Dam and Centennial Park. And the treatment will be in 2 phases over the course of about 13 days, with everything wrapping up on October 13th. Then the product will be in the water for about 3 days after that. And if it doesn't work, it could cost Idaho hundreds of millions of dollars in indirect costs. So we want to talk about this very serious situation. KTVB's Jude Binkley has been following this for us. And Jude, we have a few questions. My big question for you is, what if this doesn't work? What if the Natrix doesn't work? Is there a backup plan?
Well, the Idaho State Department of Agriculture is hoping that this copper formulation works, but there are some backup plans here. After they do apply this aggressive copper formula, they will be surveying up and down streams. And if there's any other areas they need to hit, they'll be using a treatment called niclosamide, really as a spot treatment that will be targeting specific areas. And come springtime, if there's still something left, they'll be utilizing a bacteria. So, Joe, really, there's a couple of contingency plans here as well.
I know when people are watching this at home, we say, okay, we're putting things in the water. We're going to see, how it impacts. How is the treatment going to affect the fish population? Is this dangerous?
Yeah, they're expecting high numbers of fish mortality in this 6-mile stretch of the Snake River. However, the Idaho State Department of Agriculture has been working with Idaho Fish and Game. They've been setting up benchmark fish populations in the area, and that'll really be used to help guide future fish restoration efforts. Now, Joe, this is also expected to kill algae and aquatic plants. However, drinking water still will be safe.
Okay, so if you're up there, you're not going to be in danger. How about recreation? Are people being asked to stay away? Should you maybe take the weekend off?
There is still a stay off the water, and that goes for boats, people, and pets, and that's from the Twin Falls Dam to Niagara Springs.
All right, well, Jude Binkley reporting for us here on the 208. We're going to keep a close eye on this because whether you know it or not, this impacts you at home. So we'll keep an eye. Jude Binkley reporting. Thanks so much. We'll be right back.
We are finally seeing some blue sky on Skycam 7. You can see above the clouds starting to break apart now, but over the mountains still mostly overcast, and we will likely stay mostly cloudy overnight. So if you can get out and about, enjoy this little break in the cloud cover, do so. We're up to 64 degrees, so that sunshine has helped boost our temperatures just a little bit, but with the northwest wind at 12 miles per hour, it will feel just a little bit cooler than that out there for your Monday afternoon. But all of the temperatures you're seeing here much improved over the cool and wet start to October that we saw yesterday. In fact, Ontario has hit 70 degrees where it's been a little bit clearer off to the western portion of the Treasure Valley. In eastern Idaho, rain has still been coming down, a few showers and a thunderstorm popping up as well just outside Fairfield and Bellevue. But we are dry for now across most of southwest Idaho. But late tonight, this system that's approaching from the northwest will send a quick round of rain our way. It looks like the rain will hold off till midnight or so in the Boise area, coming and going throughout probably the morning commute. So be ready for that tomorrow. If you're walking the kids to the bus stop, you might want to grab the umbrella as you head out. It'll be a light rain that all should taper off by about midday. We'll have sunshine emerging tomorrow. Temperatures won't warm a whole lot. We'll maybe add 2 to 3 degrees tomorrow. So Boise up to 67, Ontario to 72, Magic Valley you'll hit about 60 degrees tomorrow. So still cooler than average. But after tomorrow, once we get through the rain in the morning and a cool northwest wind, blustery in the afternoon, look at what happens for the rest of the week. We have fabulous fall weather making a return up near 70 by Wednesday, into the 70s on Thursday, and then a gorgeous weekend with highs flirting with 80 degrees in Boise by Sunday, staying mostly sunny and warm by early next week.
1, 2, 3.
No way.
5, 6.
So that's a gimme. That's easy.
That's easy. Boise Depot.
Bingo. But there's 4 railroads. What would you do with the other 4?
Well, one of them's on Vista. One of them crosses.
Okay, you
On
would
the
do like the
bench.
intersections with the streets, kind of like how it goes adjacent to Franklin. And
Yeah, yeah.
I don't even know what St. James Place is. I think that's just a street, isn't it? Fine, so can I just do Eat Street?
I don't know, these ones are hard. They're not as like
Yeah.
easy get, you know. 8th Street by Camel's Back, North End, Hyde Park.
I like Hyde Park. I think that fits there.
Yeah? Let's do it.
Light blue, I'm going to say Collister State. We'd say that.
Boise Monopoly board. Would you be a customer?
I'd probably be a customer, yeah. Just because it'd be something awesome to have on the shelf.
I mean, you could make it like a date night game, like, where are we gonna go? Roll the dice.
That's a good use of it if you don't have time to play.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, it's so fun. I think it'd be a perfect gift
Yeah.
for like family members. And I can see this is something that our agency would give to like all of our clients because we love Boise themed gifts.
That was a lot of fun when Andrew was asking people on the street what would they put on a Boise-themed Monopoly board. The North End had a few shout-outs. 8th Street, of course. Idaho Power is the obvious electric company, and the old penitentiary would make a good jail. Well, the wait is almost over because we know what the professionals are going to think. Are you ready for this? You can now pre-order the Boise Monopoly on Top Trump's website right now for $44.99, a bit pricey, but at least it comes with free shipping. You'll be able to take a look. It's not the Hasbro license, but they do have a lot of fun there. So that's going to ship out on the 26th. All right, comments after this. All right, time for your comments, folks. Let's take a look at the comment board. This person says the 11th Street mess has impacted these poor merchants in the area. Our beloved Record Exchange and others are ghost towns. Support them. That's from Sean. Yes. Love those businesses down there. This person wants to know who counts the votes during a caucus. The party does, so it's not necessarily votes. It's more of like what group you're in. But yes, the caucus it's done by the party themselves. I'm really interested in the fish morality, a lot more interesting than fish mortality. Yeah, Jude meant to say mortality, but fish morality, that's a good comment for another time. Person wants to know where's the Twin Falls Dam. I'm a native Idahoan. I've never heard of it. And then I did want to make sure Brian is off this week. I do want to say, yes, shout out to Machen watching tonight with his mom. I hope you're doing okay. We love when everyone tunes into the 208, but we know you're in the ER tonight, so hope you feel better soon. All right, we'll see you tomorrow.